All right, guys. So this strange timeline that we're living in continues to get stranger, especially with this Nicki Minaj story, which has been the talk of the internet for the past week over Nicki Minaj's tweet about an alleged experience that her cousin's friend had with the vaccine. Okay, and that pissed off a lot of the mainstream media and the mainstream establishment to the point where you had people like Joy Reid and Don Lemon going after Nicki Minaj for her statement, right? Which, Don Lemon basically tried to get on Nicki Minaj for her butt injections, and then Nicki Minaj hilariously responds with how Don Lemon shouldn't be talking about how anybody's putting anything up their butts, okay? Which I found that to be absolutely hilarious. I died when I read that. But you have mainstream journalists like them coming after Nicki Minaj. Not only just them, she also has people like Fauci and Trinidad's health minister coming out and addressing this Nicki Minaj situation, right? As well as the White House essentially offering to meet/call Nicki Minaj to talk about the vaccine, right? So the establishment is highly, highly, highly concerned about Nicki Minaj's tweet. And this, to me, again, blows my mind because after that tweet, Nicki Minaj said everything that the left-wing establishment wants you to say, right? She said, hey, listen, I recommend people take the vaccines. And, I'm probably going to take the vaccine eventually. And I recommend people wear masks and to stay safe. Okay, she said all the right things that the left-wing media says that you should say. But for whatever reason, they're so focused on that one tweet about somebody's alleged experience that they swear up and down was actually an STD instead. But they really, really, really are obsessed with that one tweet, right? And I think the reason why, guys, is because Nicki Minaj has hundreds of millions of followers, right? And she has a crazy fan base of followers called the Barbs, right? The Barbs, okay? And we saw how crazy they are after Nicki Minaj was basically banned from Twitter for, I guess, a few hours or a few days. And then after that, you had the Barbs show up at the CDC, right? Her rabid fan base showed up at the CDC to protest, okay, in response to all this stuff. It's absolutely insane to think about. It is absolutely crazy. And while we're on the subject of being a fan of somebody, guys, I always want to mention this because I fall into this trap as well, too. Sometimes when I'm talking about people that I like or that I support or whatever, right? Fan is just short for fanatic, okay? As humans, I think we should be careful not to be fanatics over other human beings, okay? We should not be fanatical over other human beings. The only person that you should really be a fan of is God, okay? In my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, seeing Nicki Minaj's rabid fan base kind of act the way they're acting right now just reminded me of how dangerous it is to actually be a fan of another human being, okay? And I think that we have a society that kind of is an idol worshiping society, right? Which is why we kind of have this situation in the first place, in which, you have the left-wing media being so upset about Nicki Minaj and that tweet because it reached so many of her fans, in which she has influence over, obviously, right? Looking at the fact that these people showed up to the CDC to protest, okay? And this story gets even crazier as Nicki Minaj makes her return back to Twitter. And when she makes her return back to Twitter, she comes with a vengeance as she exposes a Guardian reporter that basically tried to find her cousin's friend who had that experience allegedly with the vaccine in Trinidad, okay? And she exposed all this stuff on Instagram, in which she posted screenshots of a conversation in which I guess somebody that she knows in Trinidad, okay, maybe one of her family members, maybe it was her cousin, in which a reporter was speaking to that person, trying to find the cousin's friend that had that certain experience allegedly with the vaccine, okay? So you have mainstream media going to Trinidad, trying to find Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend to interview him about his experience, okay? So allegedly, in this conversation, At one point, the reporter essentially kind of threatened the person that they're talking to here, in which they were saying that CNN would expose Nicki Minaj's family members, right? That CNN is looking for them and that they're not going to be hesitant to reveal where they live and who they are and all types of personal information about them if they don't get the information in the interview that they actually want. Now, Nicki Minaj did not take too kindly to this threat, okay, obviously, in which she basically says, hey, threatening my family is not going to end well for you. Then Nicki Minaj subsequently after that doxes one of the journalists that was there trying to look for one of her cousins or whatever, right? She doxes that person and puts that person's phone number and email address on the internet, right? For her millions and millions and millions of fans to see. Now, apparently that person got back to their office after going to Trinidad and they had received a ton of phone calls and emails and messages from the Barbs, basically letting that person know that they did not like what they were doing, saying some things that probably were not very nice to that journalist, okay? And Nicki Minaj essentially elaborated on Instagram that, you know, they're forcing her family to hide out. She said, this is what speaking up looks like. Millions of poor people are treated this way by the people you think are the good guys. This is unconscionable. Okay, so yeah, Nicki Minaj is upset because these journalists are in Trinidad basically harassing her family members over this story, okay? Now, here's my take on this, guys. Obviously, I don't endorse Nicki Minaj doxing journalists or even threatening journalists. However, I must say that the mainstream media and a lot of these so-called journalists have been bullies to people for a long, long, long time. They have bullied people that have less power, less clout than somebody like Nicki Minaj. And this time, they tried to bully and mess with the wrong person. Okay, because Nicki Minaj is not really backing down, and her followers and her fan base, they kind of like soldiers, man, right? They're ready for the war, as you can see, on multiple fronts. And because of that, I think that it's interesting to see the mainstream media get a little bit of a taste of their own medicine in regards to how they bully others, okay? Because to be quite honest with you guys, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If the mainstream media would have just ignored this story from the start, if they would have went crazy over that tweet, a tweet that Nicki Minaj followed up with everything that the left-wing media says that you should say, right, in terms of keeping yourself safe during this pandemic, this would not be a thing. This story would not have as much exposure. It would be irrelevant. None of this stuff would happen. But the mainstream media just couldn't let it go. And because they couldn't let it go, they have single-handedly escalated this whole situation. You have journalists showing up in Trinidad, guys, to try to find the person that Nicki Minaj says allegedly had a certain experience with the vaccine. And my question is, why? What is the point? Why are you trying to find that person to interview? You guys already said that, hey, it was probably just the STD reaction or something like that. It most likely had nothing to do with the vaccine. So if you're already convinced that it was an STD, so why did they feel the need to show up to try to interview this person? To harass Nicki Minaj's family members? Just to try to get a story? Why do you feel the need to do that? And in my opinion, guys, that's an example of the mainstream media trying to bully people into information. And now they're going to boohoo and cry victim now that Nicki Minaj is bullying them. And now they're boohoo, whining, and complaining about it when essentially they will have no problems doing the same thing to get what they want. Which essentially is what those text messages say in regards to the threats that were made against Nicki Minaj's family members and revealing their information. So this whole situation, guys, again, nobody would be talking about this. It wouldn't be a big deal if mainstream media would just let it go. Okay, you don't have to agree with everything Nicki Minaj says, but she has her freedom of speech. And if you just would have let it go and you would not have made it a big deal, then it wouldn't have been a big deal. Nobody would be talking about this. But mainstream liberal media, because they wanted to bully Nicki Minaj into, I guess, I don't know, an apology. Like, I don't really know what they really wanted from her, right? But because they tried to bully her, essentially, they put themselves in this situation where they made the story a lot bigger than what it was. You expose more people to information that you claim you didn't want people to be exposed to. Now everybody knows about it. Now everybody's talking about it. Again, I just find it fascinating how this stuff works. If the mainstream media just left her alone and just let it be, none of this stuff would be happening right now. This wouldn't even be a thing. But they can't. They have to have it their way because essentially the mainstream media are bullies. And Nicki Minaj is just giving them a taste of their own medicine. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.